Have you experienced imposter syndrome?
Yeah, for sure. So let me begin by defining what imposter syndrome means to me.
Mhm.
So basically, imposter syndrome is kind of what it sounds like. You feel like you're an imposter, like you feel like you've faked your way into where you are, what you've done. You feel like people are just like, just be fooled by you, and that just will only work until they realize that you actually know nothing in the future. So that's definitely something that I struggle with a lot when I was little, when all throughout my life.
Alrighty. Help our viewers also understand what is a unique day for you at work, because not every day is the same. So, what's a unique day for you at work?
Yeah, so I guess like you said, some days are the same, some days are different. I think something that I really appreciate about my work is that there are a lot of activities that are not end related. Like obviously, most of my time I am doing like end work or doing meetings. But one particular special day I would say was last month where we had a team offsite. That particular day, went to the gym in the morning. I did some coding, did some meetings. But afterward, my team scheduled a tufting event. So that's like going to a place in San Jose, and we tufted. So we made like rugs using a yarn gun, and it was really
Mhm.
fun. I'd never done it before, and I tufted a border collie, which was really, in my opinion, very cute. And we got
Uh-huh.
boba afterward, and yeah, that was one of the more unique days I've experienced. Yeah, we for context, there's also besides just work things like my office also has things like foosball and pool and ping pong. So some other I don't play these very often, but sometimes like on a Friday afternoon, if we're all done with my work, some of my friends and coworkers and I will go play one of those. That's something else that I would say is somewhat unique to my building sometimes.
Very cool. I think you gave us an insight into a unique day, so we get to know you a little bit more. So, I think now the next question is where we get into the meat of what we are here for, right? About have you experienced imposter syndrome?
Yeah, for sure. So let me begin by defining what imposter syndrome means to
Mhm.
me. So basically, imposter syndrome is kind of what it sounds like. You feel like you're an imposter, like you feel like you've faked your way into where you are, what you've done. You feel like people are just like, just be fooled by you, and that just will only work until they realize that you actually know nothing in the future. So that's definitely something that I struggle with a lot when I was little, when all throughout my life, and that is something that I feel like since been able to keep at bay, but it's still something that I still do fight with um, a lot of the time as well.
See, and if you were to think about like the first time you experienced it at work, can you kind of walk us through what was that and how did you even recognize it happened?
Yeah, so the first time I experienced at work, I will just begin the story by saying I do not think I handled it like the best. Like I did not at that point even know what imposter syndrome was or the definition, but I just remember when I was just starting out on my team. So my team, I believe the tech stack is pretty complex, and it is pretty hard for any newcomer to onboard on, not just me. But I remember when I first joined, I was extremely overwhelmed, and I was like afraid to ask questions, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I should be knowing how to do this. Like why can't I not like make this simple thing work? And unfortunately, because I was like, oh, like this is definitely just me being dumb, I didn't ask my teammates. And afterward my manager was like, oh yeah, like don't be afraid to ask questions. And I ask a lot of questions now, and other people ask questions to me. However, that very first instant, I definitely remember feeling very trapped and feeling like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be here.
That's that's kind of scary if you think about it, like feeling trapped. How did you even get to approach your manager or people and realize that you could ask for help? I know your manager said you could ask for help, but how did you come across understanding that that's okay?
Yeah, for sure. So I will also say that I joined my current company during the pandemic. So I'm sure
Mm.
people who were in the workforce during the pandemic probably also experienced it being a bit more difficult to have just like a conversation with a coworker. If,
Mhm.
for example, I'm stuck, I can't just like tap a coworker on the shoulder. I have to like schedule a meeting or ping them, which takes more activation energy. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, like then realized that I could ask for help because so my manager actually assigned me an onboarding mentor. So the onboarding mentor was really good about making sure, like checking in on me, even like virtually, just like pinging, making sure I had like all the documentation, preemptively asking me if I needed any help. So because of his efforts, I then started feeling more comfortable just asking questions, even if I thought they might be really simple questions. And that's how I kind of realized that as a new grad, you are expected to ask a lot of questions, and it's actually detrimental to the team if you don't ask your questions, because then you're stuck for potentially like hours trying to figure out something that a more experienced member on your team could probably tell you in a very short amount of time. So that's the efforts of my teammates, and my manager definitely made me feel more comfortable about asking questions and about learning more.
And in your opinion, why do you think that it's still a problem for all of us? We experience it at some level or the other. I don't think you fully escape from it.
Yeah.
Why do you think it's still a problem?
I think so I know there's been studies about imposter syndrome, and I believe so for context, I'm not saying like I'm extremely high achieving, but I am saying that like those studies have shown that like especially people in tech and people who are in jobs that are like more high achieving, they do experience imposter syndrome. I think it's partially because like the more you know, the more you realize how much you do not know. So I know, like, you know, the old adage, ignorance is bliss. I feel like that kind of applies here. I don't think there's anything bad inherently about knowing how much there is not to know, but I will say that because of that behavior, I think as a result, a lot of people who are extremely competent and extremely smart and extremely motivated and intelligent do feel this not very rational, for lack of a better word, imposter syndrome, because like they know full well that they're like a lot of people better than them. And you know, I think oftentimes I compare myself to people who are senior to me or who've been there at my job for the same amount of time and are doing better than me. And I think objectively, if you take a step back, I think like most people who have imposter syndrome, they're doing good, like they're doing great, but just like you can always find some comparison to someone else who's doing better. And I think because of that, that is why imposter syndrome is very prevalent no matter how far up the corporate ladder you are, no matter how far in academia or any other subject you are, it will always be prevalent.